The banana empire strikes. Hey, history lovers! Welcome to History Rage. We're diving into a wild story about how the U.S. staged a coup in Guatemala over bananas. It's the 1950s, and Guatemala is a small Central American country growing coffee and bananas. The U.S. company United Fruit Company, aka the Banana Empire, owns massive chunks of land there, controlling the economy like a puppet master. They've got dirt cheap labor, tax breaks, and even their own ports. But in 1944, a revolution kicks out the dictator Jorge Ubico, and a new guy, Juan José Arevalo, becomes president. He brings democracy, minimum wages, and voting rights. Sounds great, right? Then in 1951, Jacobo Arbenz takes over, and he's even bolder. Arbenz wants to help poor farmers by taking unused land from big companies like United Fruit and giving it to the landless. He offers to pay for the land based on the company's own low tax valuations. Sneaky. But United Fruit freaks out. They're losing their grip. Next, we'll rage into how the U.S. gets involved. Drop your thoughts below. The U.S. smells a threat. Let's talk about why the U.S. flipped out over Guatemala's land reforms. It's 1952, and Jacobo Arbenz is shaking things up. His Decree 900 takes 210,000 acres from United Fruit to give to 100,000 peasant families. United Fruit is pissed. They've been lowballing their land's value to dodge taxes, and now Arbenz is paying them that same low price. They cry foul to their buddies in Washington. Here's the kicker. The U.S. is deep in the Cold War, paranoid about communism everywhere. Arbenz isn't even a communist, he's a reformer, but he's got some left-leaning advisors, and he buys weapons from Czechoslovakia after the U.S. cuts him off. Big mistake. The U.S. labels him a Soviet puppet. Enter the Dulles brothers, John Foster Dulles, Secretary of State, and Allen Dulles, CIA boss. Both have ties to United Fruit. John's law firm worked for them, and Allen's on their board. They convince President Eisenhower to greenlight a coup, codenamed PB Success. The CIA starts plotting to overthrow Arbenz. Next, we'll rage into how they pull it off. Stay tuned. Operation PB Success Unleashed. Let's dive into how the U.S. pulled off the 1954 Guatemala coup. The CIA's Operation PB Success is a masterclass in dirty tricks. They picked Carlos Castillo Armas, an exiled Guatemalan colonel, to lead the coup. The plan? Arm a small rebel force, train them in Honduras and Nicaragua, both U.S. allies, and unleash chaos. The CIA drops propaganda leaflets, runs a fake radio station called Voice of Liberation, and spreads lies that a huge army is coming for Arbenz. They even bomb Guatemala City with U.S. planes to scare everyone. Meanwhile, they bribe Guatemalan military officers to betray Arbenz. On June 18, 1954, Armas crosses the border with just 480 men, hardly an army. But the psychological warfare works. Arbenz's support crumbles. He tries to arm civilians to fight back, but his own army refuses to help, fearing a U.S. invasion. On June 27th, Arbenz resigns, thinking it'll stop the violence. Spoiler, it doesn't. Armas takes over and the U.S. gets its puppet. Next, we'll rage into the aftermath. What's your take? Hit the comments. A bloody legacy. Let's talk about the brutal fallout of the 1954 Guatemala coup. Carlos Castillo Armas takes power, and it's a disaster for Guatemala. He reverses Arbenz's reforms. Land goes back to United Fruit, unions are crushed, and thousands of communists are jailed or killed. Armas is assassinated in 1957, but the U.S. keeps backing military dictators. This sparks a 36-year civil war, 1960 to 1996, that kills 200,000 people, mostly indigenous Mayans, in a genocide backed by U.S. weapons and training. United Fruit gets its bananas, but at what cost? The coup also sets a dark precedent. The U.S. uses the same playbook in Iran, Chile, and beyond, toppling democracies for profit. Guatemala's democracy never recovers. Even today, it struggles with inequality and corruption. The Achaemenid Empire's tolerance feels like a fairy tale compared to this. The US called it a win against communism, but it was really about bananas and power. Thanks for raging with us on History Rage. Smash that like, drop your hot takes, and subscribe for more.